Greetings everyone, welcome back to Blade Bias. Happy 21 Pilots single release day. Yes, I am going to out myself as a 21 Pilots fan in the beginning of a video because next semester came out today and it friggin' bangs. I love it so much. But this video is not about 21 Pilots. This video is about the week that I spent with not the Baikal. As much as I do want to talk about that, it's about the week that I spent with this bad boy, the Nakiri. Sent over by Ted Flips. Thank you so much, Ted, for sending me so many things over, but most importantly right now, sending me this thing to try out. The Nakiri, a ballad song that initially, in my initial video, I seemed kind of disappointed by, I think. I think that's a good way to say what happened. I came across as a little disappointed, maybe lukewarm on the Nakiri, and I think a lot of people thought that I maybe didn't like it. So, how did my thoughts evolve over the week that I had it? Most importantly, I just want to say that I don't think I ever disliked the Nakiri. I just don't think I was ever in love with the Nakiri. The thing with the Nakiri, much to its success and to, in my opinion, its detriment, it had a lot of hype when it came out, or before it came out, or whatever, when the pre-orders dropped, whatever you want to say. Blake himself, the creator of it, B.A. Bally's, kept going on and on his story about how this thing for him beats the tsunami, and then the amazing release video came out and people were trying it at meetups and saying it was the greatest thing to saying it was the greatest thing to ever exist. And when that happens, you get a lot of expectations. So when you get that product that has all of these expectations on its shoulders and it just ends up being good, kind of like, like the Baikal was good. I didn't really have anything crazy to say about it, but it was overall good. But when you have that with those crazy expectations, it can seem disappointing, or it can seem like you're disappointed. And I think it was a little difficult for me to kind of hide that, because the Nakiri had a lot riding on its shoulders. And for me personally, with my preferences, I don't think it lived up to them. Despite that, I think it's a very good ballad song from a more objective point of view. It flips very well. It just didn't wow me in the way that I was really hoping that it would. So, how did my week with the Nakiri go? Well, it went pretty well. Overall, the sharpness of the handles, I got used to it. It's still not my favorite thing in the world. It's still fairly uncomfortable to flip, and every time I go back to something else, like my Slift T, I am shocked and reminded, and then I am shocked by how smooth and nice it feels while still having good grip. That being said, the Nakiri will never slip out of your hands because you lost grip on it, like ever. And I know some people might be into that. I think I would be way more into that if it was on an aluminum design, but titanium I've never really found to have a huge issue with grip like that. So I think this handle design goes a little overboard in the grip department. Even if something like choker fans, it always feels, it's probably one of the most secure choker fans I've ever felt. I just think it goes a little bit overboard into the comfort zone. And that was mainly my biggest problem with this thing over the week that I had it. Other than the tip, which when I got this package back, which I'm happy to have the Superfly back, I missed it so much. It was very well packed and I couldn't use this thing to open it because there was no tip to poke through the tape. So that was an annoyance that ended up coming to pass, and I was slightly annoyed by, but I have other live blades for that, and this isn't even mine, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, those two little, kind of complaints aside, I think the Nakiri is very good. It flips very good, it carries enough momentum. And I guess this is all with the default weights, which is what I currently have. We'll talk about the weights in just a second. But it does what you want it to. Zero Gs feel good. Rollovers feel good. Chaplains feel good. It overall feels like it wants to do everything that you want it to do. It's capable of everything you want it to do. And it feels nice. It is solid. And I think that's also partially why I was disappointed by it, because it didn't blow my socks off. My preference has usually sat with the lighter, more nimble ballad songs, something like a Tsunami and a Seraph, even a Slift T in this case, even though the Slift T is a little heavier and sluggish, what am I saying, than I would normally prefer. I think I would still take all of those over the Nakiri, but I definitely can understand why someone would be so into this. I think if you're an old head, like if you're someone who's been in the balisong community for a while and you enjoy kind of that old, like handle heavy, end weighted, sluggish kind of heavy feeling, this will be right up your alley. Unfortunately, considering that most of the balisongs on my desk over here are aluminum, and I picked up the only one that isn't, I'm more into the lighter, more nimble flippers, and the Nakiri just didn't fulfill that for me. Now, the weight system. The weight system, despite having a lot of customizability, I was never able to dial in the Nakiri to what I really enjoyed. This was with the default weights. It's what I have it in now. And it felt a little heavy to me, a little sluggish perhaps, just because of what I am used to. And I was hoping that removing the weights altogether would fix that. And it did. The balance felt a little bit better, but then I started having issues with momentum. It didn't feel like it was carrying enough momentum, as opposed to the standard weights, which I was feeling was carrying a little bit too much momentum for my tastes. And then you have the really, like the heavier weights, which I can't believe I'm still dealing with this cough. The heavier weights, which I put in, and really didn't like so much so that I took them out almost immediately because they just made the thing incredibly end-weighted, incredibly heavy, incredibly slow to flip. And I just wasn't vibing with it. But again, if you're someone who likes kind of that older style of flipping, that's definitely something that would appeal to you. And I think that's overall just what my problem with the Nakiri is I was never able to really get in tune with it. Especially when I'm flipping a live blade. You might have noticed that my flipping is much more basic than it usually is because I can't flip live blades to the best of my ability. And when I can, I need to be totally in tune with how it flips. That's why I liked this Lift T so much. It was one of the first live blades that I really felt in tune with and that I could control to the best of my abilities. And I was never able to get that with the Nakiri. I never felt like I was working with it. I always felt like I was working against it. It was always doing something that I didn't want it to do or that I'm not used to. And when you're flipping a live blade, that's just not something that you want. So that's why the Nakiri for me personally wasn't the most amazing thing in the world. But again, looking at it from a more objective angle, I think it flips and works very, very well. I can understand why people like this, even if I can't totally agree with them on that. Because it does do what you want it to do. It is a good flipper. I would even say it's a really good flipper. It just never aligned itself with me in a way that I could flip it to the best of my abilities or in a way that I really enjoy. And I think that's about it. That's the Nakiri, coming in at about $500. Not my favorite thing in the world, but again, a really solid flipper that I could recommend if you think it looks cool or if you think that the balance sounds good to something that you would enjoy, or if you're someone who's just always dropping your balisongs because you think nothing is grippy enough. Well, then this is the thing for you. So yeah, I think that's gonna about do it. Thank you all for watching. Huge thank you to Ted for sending this thing out and letting me spend a pretty good amount of time with it. I really appreciate it as usual, man. And I will see you all in the next one. Later.